welcome to FS Brew. FS Brew is Region's first podcast focusing on all things insurance and insurtech here in the UAE and the wider Middle East. I'm Vidya. I'm the founder of Forward, a startup that works with insurance companies to accelerate their go-to-market propositions, digital transformation, and digital marketing initiatives.
Hi, I'm Renjit Philip. I advise startups on their business models, go-to-market strategies, funding, and unit economics. I'm deeply interested in the fintech, insurtech, DeFi space, and I'm very happy to be here with you all. So Vidya, who are we meeting today?
Today, Renjit, we have Rachel Al-Mugheri. She is the Chief Engagement Officer at InsuranceMarket.ae. Rachel is a highly experienced, qualified insurance professional. She has over 32 years of experience in the industry. Prior to holding this role, she held the positions of Director of Strategic Projects, Director Culture and Performance at Insurance Market. She's also held role with Rack Insurance. She's also worked with international brands in the UK. She's a qualified member of the Chartered Insurance Institute and a holder of the Diploma in Workplace Psychology from the Technological University of Dublin. Rachel, it's so good to have you here. Welcome to FS Brew.
Wow. Is that me?
Yes.
That was quite a lot, right? Hi, good morning. How are you? And it's quite scary, actually, because if people do the math and they think 32 years in insurance, they're going to try and work out how old I am. So I can't lie about age and say I'm like 35 or something like that. So morning. Nice to meet you both.
Nice to meet you too.
Likewise.
Awesome. So, like you said, 32 years in the insurance industry. This is something that we ask all our guests. How did you get into insurance? Because typically insurance is really not, first choice when it comes to career for most of us.
No, it isn't. You're so right, actually. And I don't know why, because now I've been in it a long time, as you guys have too, and I'm quite passionate about it. I would advocate it as a career choice for people. But like you said, way back when, when I left doing further education and stuff, and I was looking at jobs, careers and insurance weren't on the top of my list. So yeah, I fell into it by accident, like most people do.
Yes.
I actually started life in a bank, believe it or not, which I can't believe myself because it's really dull. And maths actually was my least favourite subject at school as well. So how I ended up doing that, I just don't know. But I was in the management training programme for the Lloyds Bank Group in the UK, which involved a lot of sitting in an office, looking at ledgers and accounting and processes and all kinds of things. Basically things that didn't require any form of personality or creativity. And after a while, I thought, yeah, okay, this is good. I'm on an accelerated management program, but actually I'm being paid very little because they're telling me, oh, you're in training. And all that's accelerating is my debts and my boredom. So I really need to start thinking about something else. But, I stuck with it. And then actually by chance, a connection came to me and said, actually, I work for bank, but I work in bank assurance. And we're looking for somebody to work with us to become a trainee underwriter in investments and life and pensions business. Would you be interested? And I jumped at the chance, especially as it was double the salary.
Oh, okay.
So there was kind of a double-edged motivation there. So I went for that, and that was working for Citicorp/Citibank, so the US group. And I never looked back because then basically it opened up this whole new world, which was how insurance linked with financial services as well. So I'm grateful that happened because it gave me another dimension. And over the years, I've added to different roles, and it's given me quite a blended view. So rather than operating in silos, which is actually quite a traditional way of working in insurance, I've had the opportunity to work in lots of different areas. And I think that's really helped me and helped keep life interesting as well.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Very good. That's a great journey that you've had, and now a very interesting role at Insurance Market as the Chief Engagement Officer.
Yeah.
While we have seen that in many other industries, this is a sort of a new role for the insurance industry. Can you please talk us through what this role entails and what does your day look like?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to. So, yeah, it's quite an emerging role in industry per se. as you mentioned, and we do see it quite a lot in other industries. And I think that it's probably something that's going to start becoming more formalized in insurance as time goes on. And I think it's growing in importance because of the environment that we're operating in, this new normal. Being flexible, working in different ways, working from home like we are, other locations, flexible hours, using technology that people maybe didn't before. It all links back to one thing, and that's the human dedication, inspiration and perspiration to want to make all of that happen, right? And that's what you call engagement. That's what that umbrella is. In everything in life, you have two ways of approaching a task. You either want to do it or you're vehemently opposed to doing it. And if you want to do it, you're probably going to enjoy it and you're probably going to want to do a good job, and the end result is going to be better. Yeah. And basically that's what engagement is. It isn't rocket science. But I think over the years, we're very good at looking at other forms of resourcing. Oh, we need more computers, or we need more facilities, or we need this, blah, blah, blah. But we don't look at actually what we need is people to be more engaged. So I think there's a greater focus on that. I think the pandemic and the new normal, as I mentioned, has brought about lots of things that came out in people they never realized before. And this is where I'm tapping into my workplace psychology as well for a bit. It's looking at also people who'd never faced this kind of situation before now being fearful of things. People suddenly became fearful about, will I be able to work from home because I have all these distractions around me? I maybe have other people around me in the home. Am I going to do a good enough job? Is my company going to trust me in what I'm doing? Are they going to monitor me? If they're monitoring me, do I now have a big brother on me? That kind of thing. So psychologically, people have gone through a real journey, and that affects their engagement as well. Yeah. So you have to consider all these psychological factors. In a nutshell, what I'd say about my job is, number one, it's very, very interesting, and it's allowed me to bring together lots of things that I've done in the past, which is fantastic. But I think the common thread I would just say is that it's all about people. And that's people internally and externally to my organization. So I'm looking at engagement in terms of employees. I'm also looking at engagement of stakeholders. I'm also looking at engagement of our customer base, and how do we engage our customers to want to deal with us and continue buying from us. We're looking at people wanting to make strategic partnerships with us. How do we engage other companies to deal with us and our brand? And also the market. So how are we setting the market alight against a backdrop of economic challenge?
Nice.
So I'd say that is the common thread. That's kind of the core of what I do on a day-to-day basis. But because it's dealing with people, no one day is the same.
Yeah.
And that's also an interesting aspect to the role, I would say.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. So that's brilliant. I mean, it's straight from the employees onwards till the outside interface as well. So that's a pretty broad and interesting role.
Yeah,
very good.
And also, I think what is most unique about this role is it cuts through a lot of the silo way of working, because as you rightly said earlier, insurance is very siloed, and you have a role like this which can go across, so you're able to have a big picture and you're not just executing functional roles. So I think it feels like the right sort of role for every insurance company to look at and consider, for sure.
100%, because any organization isn't going to progress if it doesn't start looking at itself and how it works. And also looking inwardly. If you want to develop as a person, you have to look inwardly. So companies have to do that as well. So I think hopefully there's going to be a growing trend for this kind of role.
Yes. It does feel like. Great. So one of the more, I'm a marketer, so one of the most strongest brands we have, insurance brands we have in the UAE is InsuranceMarket.ae. The team has consistently invested in the marketing spend to create engaging and memorable campaigns. I think we all know Alfred by heart. what she would say and what she was not going to say. So I think all of us know. Tell us how you go about building a sustainable marketing strategy despite the market being so tough, with all, the all-time low prices on motor premiums. We would imagine, as an outsider, ROI must be tough to achieve always.
Right. Okay. So you're a kindred spirit as well, because
yes.
I have responsibility for doing marketing consultancy within InsuranceMarket, working with a number of colleagues, which I'll touch on in a minute. But in a past life, I was head of marketing for RAC Insurance here as well. So you're absolutely right. Marketing is key. And firstly, thanks a lot for picking up on the strength of the InsuranceMarket brand. Yeah. It shows we are doing a good job that you're able to say to me, I know Alfred and I know this. And
I think everyone knows Alfred in the UAE.
Which, that's fantastic, and that's one part, it's building a brand, and it's something we've worked really hard on. With regard to your comment on ROI, so return on investment, there's two quotes I'd probably like to chuck out there. And the first one's probably speculate to accumulate. So I think investing in marketing is not always something that can be driven by ROI. Of course, there's a link to it. An American would say we want bang for our buck, right? You want to see something coming back. But I think first and foremost, at InsuranceMarket, we've always been committed to building the brand, and we want to be seen as a go-to. That's for great insurance deals, but also for advice. It's not all about the deal. And like as you know, insurance professionals, things aren't always focused just on price. When you buy a product like an insurance policy, for example, it should be a combination of price, value, product offering. What am I getting for my money? Cheapest isn't always best. The same as expensive isn't always best, So the way that we look at it is we want to be seen as offering great deals, but we also want to be seen as effectively the local experts, the go-to people to ask for good advice. And also in our communications and what we put out there and what's on our website, like blogs, for example, that we are performing an informant service as well. We are like a wiki for insurance as well. That's what we want to be seen as part of our transition. So we want to keep our consumers updated on what's trending in the market, as well as informing them on their own personal circumstances. The other quote I would say is that creativity is the mother of invention, right? So we like to use creativity in what we do. We don't just throw money at something. We look for a solution. Excuse me. So we've got a lot of in-house creative talent that we use to produce our marketing content. We don't rely on agencies like a lot of other companies do. So if you're looking at spend and then return on investment, actually ours is very, very good because we do it in-house. If we look at our daily social media, for example, I work with a team of fellow professionals within the company. So our Chief Marketing Officer, Hitesh Motwani, has been with us a number of years and actually started out as an insurance advisor and worked through the ranks to Chief Marketing Officer. So he knows what the company is all about. He knows what the products are all about and so on. So when he's thinking about a strategy, he can use a back to the floor approach, Right. We've got a whole team of people. We've got somebody who does creatives. We've got somebody who's coming up with like the digital solutions. I come up with strap lines and ideas on content and check it for like the insurance correctness of the content that we do. So the technicality. So actually on a daily basis, we do something really simple. We WhatsApp each other. We've got a WhatsApp group in the morning. We say, hey guys, what's hot and what's not today? So maybe something happened yesterday. That's trending news. Let's do a post about it. And then we talk about, okay, what might the strapline look like? What might the technical content look like? What might the visual look like? The creative look like? We build it, and then by lunchtime, we've come up with it. By around 2 p.m, we're publishing it. If we were to use an outside agency for that, there'd be a lot of breakdown of links in that food chain. It wouldn't happen so dynamically. It wouldn't happen so organically, and it wouldn't happen, dare I say, so cost effectively as well. So I think also we've got this strategy where we spend responsibly as well. So we look at things that are really going to be impactful and we think is going to give us an ROI where we need to spend. So for example, we have billboards on Sheikh Zayed Road. talking about Insurance Market. The reason we do that is you don't tend to get a lot of footfall in Dubai because it's hot. People tend to get in their cars. So you need to think about, if you're going to catch people and attract their attention, where's that going to be? It's probably going to be on the best highway that there is in the Middle East, Sheikh Zayed Road. So we have billboards in prominent places there. And we also appear in local media. So at the moment, I'm a weekly columnist in Khalij Times. Please go view every week, where we talk about hot topics and they're related to insurance. So last week we were talking about fires, for example, that have recently happened in warehousing. And how can you protect yourself against that? We've also talked about Expo, so we talked about liability insurances for people visiting Expo, that kind of thing. So we do trending stuff that way. And we're also on things like Dubai FM, Dubai Business Breakfast with Brandy and Richard. So we're visual and we look for all the opportunities. And when we spend, it's because we need to spend. But we feel that we've got a lot of talent and creativity and opportunity to do that.
That's fantastic.
Thank you for that. I think a good piece that you said there was about, sort of giving away a lot of your knowledge and information, educating the customer base. And no, it's not really about selling at that moment. It's really, give. And at the end, when they come to the site, they see the value automatically and kind of pull from it.
Exactly.
But also credit but also credit to the management at the insurancemarket.ae, because they don't constantly are banging about, give us the ROI right now and this month, or next week or today, because that's typically how most of the insurers would go about it. And from what it sounds like, they are not. They're seeing the long-term value of it. So that's great.
Absolutely.
Yep, Renjit. Sorry.
Yeah. Stepping back a little bit and looking at the industry, you've seen a couple of aggregators, a lot of aggregators to be honest, and insurtechs coming in like Beema and Hala. So finally, the market is looking at innovation in insurance. It looks like compared to the fintech space, which is there's so many players, right? So what is your response to these kind of players? In terms of competition or in terms of evolving to the next stage of development for insurance market?
Yeah, so I mean, as you've touched upon, there are lots and lots of changes in the market, lots of different things happening. There's somebody new popping up every single day. Yeah. But I think for us, our philosophy's always been, don't consider the competitors, focus on yourself. I think, sure, you've got to take note of what's going on in the market, but I think the minute you allow your strategy to be set by what's hot and what's not, and who's doing this and who's doing that, I think you've kind of lost your focus. I think you need to set out your own vision very clearly, your own mission statements, your own core values, your own DNA, what it is you want to achieve, and focus on those and how you're going to deliver them. And don't allow yourself to be derailed by today's hot thing. We're all about being here for the long haul. So Insurance Market has actually been around since 2010, but it's actually the trading name or the brand name of our parent company, which is AFIA Insurance Brokerage Services. And that was actually founded 26 years ago now. So in terms of longevity, it's been here for more than half of the UAE's life. And I think that that's a testament to our strategy. The fact that it's been around and it's stayed successful and it's continued to grow and evolve and develop over that time proves that the strategy is right. And you'll see all these people kind of dipping in and out of the market, but some of them can be a bit here today and gone tomorrow. So we don't want to crash and burn. We want to be here for the long haul. It's all about sustainability. And therefore, we're cognizant of what's going on in the market. We need to have our finger on the pulse, but we don't need to react to it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, well, fair enough. So just as an extension to that, question itself, what do you think will be then the future business model for insurance, for insurers in the UAE, considering obviously there are a lot of market movement, there are new players, there are established players innovating as well, and there is changing landscape on the regulation side of it. And, how is insurance market preparing for the future? If you could, dwell some insights into that.
Yeah, sure. Of course, future-proofing is really important. So it's not all about the here and now. It's looking further than that, which actually is kind of contradictory to the last thing we were talking about, right? So the new people coming in. I think future business model is obviously going to incorporate a lot more digital and a lot more direct options. So insurance is going to become a lot more 24/7. So right now, obviously, we do have a number of companies offering websites and so on that you can access, but is the accessibility to the product, the purchase cycle, actually 24/7? If you had a claim and it was at 3 a.m., would you be able to speak to a claims handler, for example? Or would you be able to register your claim online and set it up? We're not quite there yet. And I think that that's the way that things are going to start going. Things are going to become a lot more available. I think also remote working and offshoring now forms a greater part of the new normal, so that employees and customers alike enjoy that flexibility. I think it's something that a lot of people were uncomfortable with at first because maybe they hadn't had previous experience of it. But now they've experienced, I can work from home, or I can call a company and speak to an employee, and that employee might not be in an office, but I'm still going to get great service. Now it's tried and tested, and people are more used to it. They're more comfortable with it, and they utilize it. So I think there's going to be a lot more of that. And obviously for businesses, that also helps with sustainability because you can operate off of lower margins, lower cost bases. If you're running some business space downtown in Business Bay, for example, it's going to cost a lot of money. If you're in DIFC, it's going to cost a lot of money, But if you've only got like a fronting office in DIFC, a small space with maybe a few key employees in it, but then 95% of your workforce are somewhere else, that's obviously going to help your cost base. At InsuranceMarket, we look creatively at that, and we looked at it as part of an overall strategy as well in terms of employee engagement, which I'm sure I'll touch upon later. But, that availability to be able to work wherever you are, offer products and services wherever you are, different timings as well. You mentioned about you've just had a young child, Vidya, I understand. So that's brought up some challenges, having the flexible working options, working different shifts. You might actually decide, what, it's better for me to work through the night and nap during the day when my baby does, And so I can just see us really evolving into that. And already this week alone, we've seen the UAE government make some interesting announcements about flexible working and stuff that's quite pioneering. We'll see how the private sector reacts to that, of course, because right now it's only in the public space. But I can see everything totally transforming and shifting.
Yeah. Awesome. I think to your point about the evolving space of almost where the talent is located, it really doesn't matter where talent sits today, right? Over a Zoom call or a Teams call, you can engage with an expert who could be working for you part-time, and they need not be even in the UAE. So, I wonder how the future of, getting talent looks like in the Middle East. It's going to be quite an interesting.
It's going to be very, very interesting. Very interesting. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Now, COVID, we are going through this pandemic. Sometimes it's easy to forget when we are in the UAE that the world outside is going through a very, very interesting experience, to say the least. And we can see from your marketing efforts, obviously this is what we see from outside, health and life coming to the fore. One would presume that this is reflective of the customer demand that you're seeing for these products. Do you see that as the reason, or is there a proactive push for these kind of products that you're making?
I think it's a combination of the two, actually. So yeah, I mean, any organization, no matter the sector it's in, should always react to the demand of the customer base, supply and demand premise. But also, yes, there's an element of proactivity in pushing something out there. I mean, bottom line is health insurance is always going to be prominent here and always has been prominent here because it's a mandatory line of business. So as such, it's an essential purchase. Everybody has to have it. But I think what many people don't know is that the cover varies hugely. It's not only from insurer to insurer, but also from plan to plan. And people don't realise that until they have a claim. So I think perhaps there's been a tendency for people to think, what do I need to do? What am I required to do by law? Okay, I'm going to buy a DHA cover, a Dubai Health Authority cover, an essential benefits policy, which is the ground floor basic, right? Yeah. But then they suddenly find that, I've contracted this illness or whatever, something's happened to me, I need to make a claim, and I can't go to the clinic that's just down the road. I'm not covered for that. I've only got a policy limit of X, but my claim is Y, and suddenly they've got a whole heap of other stress and illness on top of what they've already got. The bottom line is insurance is there to provide peace of mind. So that's the premise of it. So our marketing is really to raise awareness of what's out there and the fact that there's something to suit all situations and all budgets. Conversely, when you look at life insurance, it's not heavily subscribed here because it's elective. So you don't have to buy it, ergo you're only going to buy it if you see a need for it, and you only see a need for it if you know about what it does. So for us in the life space, we look at raising the awareness more than what the market demand is. So that's more of an education piece, and our marketing tends to reflect on what the policy provides and the affordability of that compared to what's on offer. Because if somebody looks and thinks, I can insure myself for $1 million dirham, they're probably going to think, that's going to be expensive. But when you break it down and you say to them, well, actually, you're only a 32-year-old person, you're not overweight, you don't smoke, you don't drink, you're completely and utterly healthy, you've no hereditary problems, you've got a long period over which to pay this premium because you're going to take out a whole of life policy. Therefore, you're probably only going to be spending 50 dirham a month, for example. Under affordability, it becomes, wow, that for that. And they didn't realise it before. And that's not always immediately apparent if you just went online and read something. Sometimes you need a teaser to give you that bit of information, but then you also need somebody to explain it to you and storyboard it a little bit. And unfortunately, how can I say? Insurance is often about misery. It's not an attractive must-have product that you want to buy. It's not like a diamond ring to me. If I've got money, I want to spend it on something that makes me feel good. Insurance only makes me feel good if I'm having a bad time. And then I realise its value, So sometimes you need to storyboard it, and that means telling people some actually quite sad stories.
Rachel, one of the big shifts that in terms of customer behavior that we have noticed now is people going online more and more thanks to the pandemic. And then, for pretty much everything within the cycle, from research to taking a quote to buying their own policies and whatnot. We know that Insurance Market has a decent website, but a lot of the activities also is very offline driven, leading into online. Tell us some of the things that Insurance Market is currently working on in terms of investing to remain on top of the customer expectations.
Right. Okay. So yeah, absolutely. You're right. Lots of people are going online to do things. Interestingly, I think when we talk about online, as you've touched upon, there's different ways of using online. Some people use online for browsing. Some people use online to educate themselves, to see what's available, to understand what's there. And some people aren't comfortable with then necessarily going to a click-through technology to avail a purchase, even if it was available there. So something you've alluded to is the fact that right now, for example, someone like us doesn't have that ability to actually transact online. And actually, in the past, that's been a conscious strategy of ours, because we believe that there is a very large community of people here that like to go online, as I mentioned, to educate and inform themselves and get that awareness. But actually, when it comes to taking the step to clicking a buy button, they don't want to do that. They want to speak to somebody, and they want a human intervention, and they want somebody to say, okay, what is it you're interested in? What questions do you have about it? So like we touched upon buying life insurance, for example, you know, someone's going to read all about it, but if they weren't informed enough in the past to go ahead and buy it, are they at that stage right now? No, probably what they've now got is an awareness they might need it, but they want somebody to comfort them, hold their hand and walk them through that big purchase and that big commitment. Because you buy a whole of life policy, you're paying for it through the whole of your life.
Yeah.
So we made a conscious decision to have educated, informed, friendly advisors in our office who will speak to the customer on the phone or in person if they so wished, to take them through that part of the process. And the front end of the process we have online. So in line with our past strategy, what we've been doing is very much expanding our website. We've totally refreshed it, by the way. That came in line with an evolution of Alfred as well, because Alfred isn't that mythical character Peter Pan who stays the same age that he always was. You know, he's aged. He's been around 11 years now. Yeah. So from an image perspective, Alfred's had a makeover. So we needed to reflect that on our website as well. He's lost a little bit more hair, and he's got a few more wrinkles now.
I was going to say.
Yeah, so we've taken him on that journey. So because of that, we also saw an opportunity to look at our website in total and refresh the content. We have a lot more blogs and articles on our website. We have a space actually featuring yours truly, which is called Know Your Insurance, which is a combination of articles, blogs, and video snippets on different topics of insurance. So if you were to go on our website and you clicked on the bottom, the footer area, you'll see blogs and guides, Know Your Insurance. If you click on that, you'll be able to read about insurance, but also you'll click on a link and it will take you to a video, which is short snippets embedded talking about that product and answering common questions in a format like we're doing now, you know, in like a chat format. Yeah. And they're also available on YouTube as well. So we've made our website more dynamic and interactive. We've got a lot more information sources. We've got products on there that previously wouldn't have been on there. Things like drone insurance, for example. Yeah. Cyber insurance is a growing product. So that's on there in more detail as well. Okay. But in terms of the other aspect you were talking about, so that availability to maybe take things a step further online, we've got some exciting projects in the pipeline, which are due to come to fruition. And when I say due to come, they're coming like very soon, like by the end of this year, which actually will take things to the next level. So there'll be a lot more interaction that you'll be able to have with our website. Something we've already launched in its first phase is something called My Alfred, which is available to InsuranceMarket customers exclusively. It's a portal area where you have access to lots of different functions, but one space is My Rewards. And My Rewards are deals and discounts that are available exclusively for our customers through our strategic partners. So we've got people like Bloomingdale's, Noon, CAFU, Astor Clinic, Saudi German Hospital. We've recently done a great strategic partnership with them, 50% off some of their healthcare products and services. It's amazing. So all of that is part of our next generation online solution. We've got that available already. We're developing our app even further. as well to have more functionality. But we are actually going to be launching something very, very soon, which is even more exciting, which will give a much more 24/7, 365 user interaction with our website.
Brilliant.
Right.
So watch this space. And invite me back, and I'll tell you about it.
Oh, right. So we can't get a sneak preview of that.
Exactly.
Right
I was going to ask.
I would love to give you an exclusive, but let's just say that I think it's going to be incredibly well received. It's going to tackle some of the things that you have alluded to in terms of what would we be able to do.
Right.
And
are we able to make some guesses now?
You can make a guess and I can do my best poker face. But yeah, let's just say I think everybody is having to evolve.
Yeah.
That's circumstances have meant we've had to do that. But I would also stress that I do feel that we'll, as a company, we'll take things down this more online route, but we never want to get away from our roots, which are we're all about the customer service. We're all about that human interaction, and we do a lot of training and development with our advisors, which is something I'm also involved in. And engaging our employees to have long careers with us as well. That's another thing. We don't want people that are using us as like a stopgap or transient or whatever. We want people to be with us a long time. We've got a lot of long servants in the company. I mean, our general manager's been around for the whole life of the company, which is quite unheard of in the UAE. But we're all about the people and that quality and that knowledge bank, So whilst we want things to be accessible, it's about giving people options. It's not about replacing a business model that's tried, tested, very successful, and has built us a good reputation.
Yeah, makes sense. When we talk about some of these changes and we cannot but look at the motor portfolio, right? I mean, motor is one of the mainstays of the business of insurers, brokers, aggregators. But when you look at motor, you sometimes are baffled. I mean, there's high commissions that insurers have to pay, let's say 25 to 30%. And if you look at loss ratios, they're running in the 60s to 70 range. And then you start thinking, where's the money to be made in this? Does it impact the portfolio health long term? What do you think the industry can do as a whole to take corrective measures? Because as you rightly said, it's not just about the price, right? It's about features, it's about the service. And you're one of the biggest brokers in the market. What role can InsuranceMarket play in this whole process?
Right. This is an interesting topic, motor and sustainability. And actually, I'm just going to share with you something from actually a very mature insurance market, the most mature insurance market in the world, which is the UK, the London market, right? Where I worked for over 13 years in the city, in the London market, and it's very volatile. And when you just talked about loss ratios of 60 and 70%, and actually you were concerned about it, we would have loved them because, the loss ratio in the London market for motor was in the 90s. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I worked for Zurich Global Corporate in the city, that was dealing with the top 500 listed under the Financial Times Share Index and NASDAQ and Dow Jones and so on. The top 500 companies that had a turnover of more than $500 million US. That was our customer base. And some of those customers were running at a loss ratio. The motor book was running at 97%.
Right.
So imagine we only had 3 points to cover all our operating expenses and so on and our profit margin, imagine. So if we ever got in the low 90s or like the 80s, it was like we're going to the pub all afternoon, and we're spending those profits because we can't believe we've achieved them. Because bottom line, to the uninitiated, so we've all worked in insurance a long time, so we know how it works. But for people who might be viewing this that don't, I think we need to dispel some myths about how things work. So first of all, of course, you're right in touching on the fact that the premiums need attention, but it's kind of partially correct, because it's probably simplistic to say we're at an all-time low, it's unsustainable, corrective actions need to be taken and so on, because that's looking at it as a one-dimensional view, or what we'd call a monoline approach. So if I was an insurance company myself and all I did was motor insurance, yes, I'd probably be worried because I wouldn't have much of a margin. But all the insurers that operate here are known as composites. So they're dealing with multiple lines of insurance. So what they do is work on what we call a portfolio underwriting profitability model, which is they look at all the lines of business that they write, and they contribute profits from this area and profits from that area to offset the losses or the less than desirable margins being achieved in another line of business. And motor has always kind of been that line of business that needs propping up or sustaining. And the reason for that is, unfortunately, it will always be transactional because it's mandatory. I can't really think of a country in the world where you don't have to buy motor insurance. The reason that we tend to have motor cover is because a car is a weapon at the end of the day. You know, it's something that can do a hell of a lot of damage, not just to property, but more importantly to people. And if unfortunately there's loss of life associated with it, somebody is going to come after you if you've caused that accident and you've taken their loved one away. And in some parts of the world, here, for example, we do have blood money damages that are awarded. In the UK, it happens as a more standard award, but here it's probably quite more prominent. And when you've got that kind of cultural backdrop, you know, people look at their money and they look at, what am I spending it on? How much do I need to spend? Is this really essential? And on motor, they're told they have to buy it. So because of that, they become more price sensitive. And people will look at affordability and they look at their own circumstances. And sometimes they look at those rather naively. And they think, all I need to do is cover my essential, which is compliance with the law. So I'm going to buy third party. And then they might have an accident and then realise, wow, you know what? I saved really hard for 3 years to buy this car and I've just written it off. And I've lost everything now because all my insurance did was pay somebody else for the damage I did to them, you know. And all the time that people are going to kind of drive prices down because they don't see the value of the product, and the market allows that to happen, which isn't unique here. It happens everywhere in the world pretty much. We're going to have those kind of levels and we're going to have those kind of margin, and it's very, very difficult. You know, lines of business are also notoriously subject to volatility due to the fluctuating forces that I mentioned. You know, so if we suddenly had a big run on major accidents where people had written off expensive cars or whatever, and that was all over the press, people would see the value and they might be prepared to pay a bit more. But on the flip side of it, we've come out of a pandemic where actually we had no vehicles on the road for a year. This is the problem. So we had people that had insured their cars because mandatorily they had to, but they were actually in a parking lot or a garage. They weren't on the road. So then they're thinking, well, hang on a minute. Last year I paid all this money and I didn't use it. So now I'm going to get back on the road again. I want to see some payback on that. Because what they don't see behind the scenes is, for one big accident on Sheikh Zayed Road involving a couple of vehicles, an insurer's probably had to pay out millions of dirhams. Imagine it's a supercar, you know? And they don't think about, oh, you know, I've just paid 1,500 dirham for my car insurance, but actually what I'm covered for is infinite, you know?
So whole lot more than what you just pay for. And I can see, you know, just because it's mandatory, people might shop around, but I can see how insurance market is, you mentioned those rewards, right? So it feels like you're getting a lot more back. And that could be a trend that some of the other companies follow as well. Right?
Definitely. You have to move away from price and onto value. So like I mentioned, we offer My Rewards, which is discounts with our strategic partners, for example. We offer, for some of our customers, our VIP customers, we have a division called IM Priority, which offers a virtual concierge service. Right. So we'll make doctors, dentists, beauty appointments, restaurant reservations, help out with hotel bookings, etc. One of our team will assist you and be dedicated to you, if you're a VIP customer, to be your virtual assistant. Wow. So it's like having a PA. So that's what we do for some of our VIP customers. So it's looking at those things. When you talk about commission, obviously that's important because that's what sustains a broker. That's our revenue stream, right? We get paid commission from the insurance companies. And obviously that's very much a negotiation between each insurer and each broker. So when we talk about, say, unrealistic high commission levels or putting pressure on insurers with commission, obviously you're going to ask for what you think is a realistic level of commission for your business. And it's full on the insurer if they accept something they think isn't sustainable. We have seen, certainly I saw it in London a lot, people offering totally unrealistic levels of commission to try and incentivize getting more business in. You can do that as a loss leader, maybe. You can do that for a certain period of time. But on the flip side, an insurer should be responsible as well. And they should say, I'm going to give you this amount of commission for this amount of time in reflection of a promise of this amount of business. But if you don't give me that level of business, your commission's going to drop. That's why a lot of insurers operate overrider schemes. Because they'll say if you hit a certain threshold of business, we'll give you an incentive reward. So rather than paying inflated commission, they'll give them a bonus on the commission. That makes more sense because it's then linked to KPIs. Commission should always be reviewed constantly. It shouldn't necessarily just be an annual exercise. Typically it's done annually, but if it was done quarterly or 6 monthly, it should be a health check. For both parties, effectively. I think sometimes there's been a move to always blame brokers and kind of say, oh, they're greedy or maybe they take too much commission. Possibly there are some, but equally, as I said, I think it's kind of shame on an insurer also to pay something that's unrealistic. It should be about both parties having the trust and the sense to realise that sustainability is key. Not about making a quick buck.
Absolutely. There are two players in this game. It's not just one. Yeah.
Definitely.
So for you were talking about creating value, which is superb. Now, as a broker and as a chief engagement officer, when you are going about creating that value on a day-to-day basis, really going back to your role, how do you measure that? Tell us some of the customer metrics that you use, and it's refreshing to go away from loss ratios and commissions and really going back to the customers and understanding how successfully whatever you're implementing is going okay. So how do you go about measuring the CX metrics, your digital sales and marketing metrics, and what are your top 3? If you can talk us through.
Okay. So it's important to know what your market is feeling about you. That's really important, and obviously there's lots of different ways of doing that. Quite an obvious one that a lot of companies deploy, irrespective of the industry they're in, is NPS. So Net Promoter Score. And Net Promoter Score, for those who don't know about it, is a really simple tool because oftentimes it's based around one question. How likely are you on a scale of 1 to 10 to recommend our business to a family member, friend or colleague? It's as simple as that. And it's quite a good indicator of how somebody just felt. And you need to consider when you deploy it, like timing is really important. So ideally, you want to do it just after a touch point. So it's just after somebody has purchased from you, for example. Somebody's just made a claim with you. Somebody's just received a claim settlement from you. I believe that you should do it at regular touch points. And the more that you do that, the more it is a leading indicator of your business health or sustainability. If you just do it after one event, like how likely are you to recommend us after a sale, you maybe haven't got the complete picture, because that's based on one aspect of a customer experience, and the customer might have been very engaged when they were looking to make that sale anyway. They might have come to you off the back of a referral from somebody anyway. Yeah. So they already felt warmed up by it. Then they had a good experience. So then they're going to give you a really great score. Whereas if somebody's come to you from cold, for example, that might actually be more valuable, because maybe you had to work harder to get that sale. So you worked harder to get that NPS score. You know what I mean? So NPS is one-dimensional in that it asks one question. But actually, if you really think about NPS and you use it correctly, it's multifaceted. So that in itself can be a really useful tool. So that's one thing. The other thing is, in the digital space, obviously, Google reviews. Everybody's looking at Google reviews. We've just smashed a fantastic milestone, actually, which is 18,000 Google reviews, and our rating is 4.9 out of 5 for those. So, and if you go online and you read the comments, you'll see the fantastic comments in there. And obviously, they're reflective of what people are feeling about us in a variety of different scenarios. So, as I mentioned, all those different touch points. So we think they're really important. We pay a lot of attention to that. Obviously, we do community management. So where we're on social media, we're on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, we're on LinkedIn, which obviously is in a more professional capacity. We will do community management. We'll look at those things. We'll respond to those kind of comments, feedbacks that are coming, etc. We measure, obviously, things like backlinks that we have. We're looking at SEO channeling. So our search engine optimization, how are people looking for us? How are people searching? Comments that people might make about us, that kind of thing. We're also looking at obvious things in the insurance and loan space, which is retention rates. Yeah. How many customers are choosing to renew with us, for example, and that's in the 90s, which again is fantastic. And actually, our sales advisors are tasked, our renewal team advisors are tasked with achieving more than 80%. If they don't achieve more than 80% for their renewals, then actually they failed their objectives, they failed their KPIs, and they'd be looking at a performance management situation, because we strongly value renewals, because it's the lifeblood of your business. It costs on average 7 times more to get a piece of new business than it does to make a renewal happen. So acquisition is much more expensive and harder. So we also look obviously at new business metrics. That's important to us. We want to keep onboarding people. So we look at all of those kind of traditional insurance company figures, but as we're transitioning more into digital and marketing type space, we're looking at all of those metrics as well as I mentioned, like the Google reviews and so on.
Right.
Fantastic. That's very, very useful. Now, this is a question we ask all our guests, before we end. Is there a message that you would like to send to anyone in the insurance industry? Of course, it's outside your company. Could be a personal or a business one. Feel free to let us know.
Thank you. Yeah. That's a nice opportunity. So I think kind of from an industry perspective and also a personal one, I'd like to say let's talk more as an industry. I think networking does exist here in various channels. But I think there's a lot more that could be done through greater collaboration and greater dialogue. It would be great to see more joint ventures happen over here. And it would be great to start like an intellectual capital sharing network that was free of competition, free of people fearing being plagiarized. Somebody's going to nick that great idea of mine, It's not about creating a brain drain. It's about creating a think tank.
Yeah.
And actually, that's an initiative we have at InsuranceMarket that I run on a monthly basis. We have Think Tank, which is me calling up managers like I'm talking to you now, and having a chat with them for an hour or however long they want to chat over a cup of tea. I always have to be fooled by that. And just talking about what ideas have you got? if you were CEO today, what would you change? What would you do? What's working for you? What isn't working for you? And just sharing some ideas, because sometimes the people that are in the hot seats or back to the floor actually have the best ideas, because they're at the sharp end. They're seeing things happen, And I think between companies, we should do more of that. I mean, the only thing I've ever kind of experienced here was I went to Lloyd's InsuranceMarket drinks at DIFC, sort of in the first 6 months I was here, which was a kind of a lot of senior people stood around in suits, having a few drinks for a few hours and not really kind of talking about much. It was more about what have you done, probably talking about their own personal achievements more than talking about, you know about this, don't you? What would you do in this situation? Or I've got this problem. What would you do, Mr. RSA? What would you do, Mr. Zurich? Like, it would really nice to have a shared, comfortable space where we could share ideas and champion what we do as an industry. I'd love to see more focus groups as well. I'd love to see more getting customers and like general public and things to shared events, shared forums, whether it was online or, a virtual thing, or whether it was in person, like networking with business owners to say, what problems are you having as business owners? Did you know there was an insurance product for that? Or we didn't realize that this risk was a trending one. Let's go away and think about developing a product for you. Because it's 360 insurance, isn't it? It's about us offering a suite of products to the public, but actually it's about a trending thing now emerging. We need to create a product for it. That's how insurance evolved. I mean, not many people here wouldn't know about it, but you can insure rain. And that's a very popular thing in Europe. In events cover, we have pluvious cover if there's rain. Here people wouldn't think about it, but actually that is a damn good product to sell here, because when it rains, it really rains.
It's chaos.
And it's chaos, So, but is the market aware that kind of cover exists, and is anyone here offering it? I don't know, So that collaboration would be great. For me personally as well, message I would give out is this is a really great dynamic area to work in. And I'm talking about geographically. Dubai and the UAE know no limits when it comes to vision, creativity, innovation. Nobody stops to say, why should we do this? They say, why not? And even if somebody came back with an objection, that objection is pretty much countered. So unlike when we're doing business deals and we have a sales scenario and the customer's like creating an objection and its price and we're trying to counter it, here we've got a different scenario. Objections just don't exist. They're kind of never sustained. It's about make it happen. And that's what I love. I love that dynamic. So for any individual watching this, wherever they are in the world, this is a fantastic place to be. And I've long been a visitor here. I've been visiting for like 23, 24 years. But I actually wish that I'd made the move sooner to come and work here. Because I find the opportunities exciting, challenging, dynamic, limitless. And when you're young, those are the kind of things that inspire you. And I'm not going to be working for years and years to come. So I haven't got that much time to enjoy it. So I kind of make every day count. That's why I'm really passionate about what I do, because I know I've kind of got a timeline, as it were. But I'd encourage any person in like 20s, 30s to come here, get a bit of experience back home maybe, but then come here to take your career to the next level. And I think the market here is crying out for people too, from different nationalities, different markets, to shape and evolve it here too, because it needs that, because it doesn't have the maturity. So it needs that feed too. So again, it's a real 360. That would be my message.
Wonderful.
Brilliant.
That's great.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for chatting.
More
with
than
us.
welcome. It was lovely chatting to you guys. And this is just proof, right?
Yeah.
That we didn't know each other before today.
Yeah.
We didn't kind of know that each other existed, but already we've shared ideas, got energy from each other, got inspiration from each other, by creating this informal network.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
It just goes to show that there's a lot more of this.
There's a lot required of this. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. And it's been wonderful to have you on the show, and I've learned a lot.
It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed talking to you both, and I wish you every success with this. I think it's a great initiative.
Thanks, Stefan.
I hope we get the chance to speak again.
Hi, it's me, Renjit. If you enjoyed this episode, I request you to leave us a review. This will help us to reach more great podcast listeners like you. Thank you.